let me get both of you to comment on what's happening in the US today, which is, of course, the largest market for not just the two of you, but also for the IT services sector. And Salil, let me start by asking you, we wake up every morning to what President Trump has tweeted or what Elon Musk is saying on Twitter and so on and so forth, and that kind of dictates the news cycle. Is it dictating the business cycle as well? Has it started to dictate the business cycle?
So what we are seeing so far, and just week before last, I was in the US meeting with several clients. There's a view that what is being discussed by what the government is doing is benefiting the US businesses, maybe through less regulation, maybe through policies that will help the economy. So our view, if that is what plays out, is as the economy in the US or Western Europe markets becomes more stronger, which is already in the US in good shape, we will see more business for tech. And there are two types of things. We've talked a little bit about this in the past. We see a lot of discussions which are tech and ops on efficiency, and that's going extremely well right now. Then there's a lot of work on tech, which is to build for growth, let's say cloud, AI, other things. And as the economy numbers start to become better, we will see more of that. And so that gives us the second leg of growth. So we have that one leg, which is giving us decent growth right now. With the second leg of growth, if that comes, when that comes, we will see more and more growth.
But, again, and I link this back to what we were talking about, the need to adapt as well as the change as far as the business model is concerned. In a Trump era, with the H-1B issue being the way that it is being dealt with at this point in time, what could it potentially mean as far as the services sector is concerned? What could it mean for Indian IT in the next few years?
So there, I think two parts to what you ask, and there I'll talk a little bit more about Infosys. We've built over the last few years a more resilient business, especially for the US. We've made sure we built out more and more local delivery and digital centers. We've got now more staff which are local. Over 60% of our teams in the US are local. We built quite a strong nearshore capability for the US. So we feel better prepared if there are any changes. So far, we've not seen any changes, though.
CVK?
Yeah, I think on both the topics, I would agree with Salil. I think the business environment is becoming more vibrant. In the last 2 or 3 quarters, we are seeing increasing demand. In spite of all the different conversations that are happening due to executive orders and things like that. And on H-1B, I think for the industry, it's a much smaller issue than what it was 2 decades ago. All of us have built a lot more local capabilities, and we're very less dependent on H-1B.
Let's talk about the next steps now as we talk about this journey that we are talking about in this big transition. And it's not the stronger, as they say, or the biggest that will survive, but the most adaptable. What have you been able to do? What are you focusing on? What are you prioritizing to make sure that you're adaptable and more agile to deal with the circumstances that we're coping with, Salil?
So there, I think it's absolutely the fundamental of how we need to stay relevant. One of the things we've done is make sure we remain relevant to what clients are looking for. And that, if you look back over the last few years, at one stage we were 20% digital, now we are over 60% digital. It'll be a similar story if you take, let's say, cloud, a similar sort of growth or change, let's say AI. Today, AI is still a small part of our revenue, but it's a large part because it's part of every discussion. And as we grow, it's going to become more and more relevant.
So what could it potentially be over the next 5 years?
I don't have a number for what it will be, but what is clear is what we need to remain relevant for what clients are talking about. Today, clients over the last couple of years are more focused on cost and efficiency. And now we see with the changes, as you mentioned earlier, on the US economy, more and more interest in doing larger spends on tech programs. So we need to remain vigilant and relevant.
So back to more transformational stuff?
As the economy improves, my sense is there'll be more transformation coming into play.
CVK?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Salil. I think instead of chasing growth, we should really be chasing client relevance, which will, in some form or other, really help you grow. I think if you're constantly asking the question and really challenging the teams, how are you being relevant to every client? I think that's really the foundation of growth.
Finally, advantage Indian IT services. 10 seconds to you. What would the number one advantage be as we look at this era, CVK?
I think human capital is undoubtedly the biggest advantage we have. And how do you really channelize this capital to create more value? When the industry is changing, when services are getting commoditized, how do you really reinvent?
Salil?
Same, really, the people, we have an incredibly talented, young engineering, science cohort, people across universities, and that's a real advantage for us within India. That's the advantage that we see when we recruit into Infosys, and that's going to continue on. So keep that attention and focus. The more we have that, the better.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to CVK and Salil for charting out what the road ahead looks like. Need for adaptability, agility, no time for complacence. That's the big mix here as we talk about the road ahead for India's IT services sector. Many, many thanks for joining us here.